Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Let's Play Sherlock Holmes Crimes and Punishments. In our last episode, our faithful man's best friend Toby was able to get us some more clues at the Grange household. Isn't that right, boy?
Brave Toby. The best nose in the British Empire.
So let's go poke around to the spots that he told us we should search through.
This hook might be useful.
I'm just stealing stuff from these poor people who witnessed
This
the
old
murder.
suitcase sounds hollow. It must be empty.
Maybe they took something out
Small
of it.
gardening tools. Nothing of great interest.
Says you, Sherlock.
Bags of seed. Some empty bags were recently moved.
Interesting. Guess we searched everything that we can search from the shed. How about the well? See if we can get another lead. Are we climbing into the... Oh, glittering object. Are those
There's
a
something
silverware?
glittering at the bottom there. But how can I reach it?
Use the hook. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Good job, Sherlock. There we go. It's the silverware, isn't it?
Silverware. This is hardly a coincidence.
So why did they steal the silverware only to drop it to the well? That doesn't make any sense.
The Brackenstall coat of arms. It appears that we have found the stolen silverware.
Yeah, but why just dump it into the well after going through the trouble of stealing it? That's very interesting. Silverware found. The stolen silverware was found in the well. 2 glasses with the traces of decanted glass with beeswing. 3 people. There were 3 people drinking wine out of these glasses. One of the 3 probably prefers wine with bee sting. There were 2 people drinking wine out of these glasses. The remaining glass with the beeswing consisted solely of the dregs from the other 2 glasses. I don't know. I'm not sure. One of the 3 probably prefers wine with beeswing. The remaining glass with the beeswing consisted solely of the dregs from the other 2 glasses. I'm not sure. I'm gonna guess 2 people for now, but that'll probably change. Oh, that does not coincide with the Randall gang. Oh, because the Randall gang only consisted of 2 people. Well, I'm gonna keep it conflicted. Fireplace grate, knotted rope, sharp knife. The rope was cut once with a sharp knife and tied quickly in sailor's knots. That could indicate that the intruder had a sailor's background. Peter Carey, or the harpoonists that we've set free. The harpoonists that we set free and did not convict. Dead body of Brackenstall with a fractured skull. The death of Sir Eustace could have been due to his accidentally striking his head on a fireplace grate. The death of Sir Eustace could have been due to a poker blow. I'm gonna guess the fireplace grate for now, just because there was actual blood on the fireplace grate. Maybe he was hit on the head. Oh. That conflicts with something. That conflicts with a lot of things. Huh. There's a lot of, if I do this, no acquaintance. Deadly accident. Huh. What does this one conflict with? Deadly accident conflicts with something. Not sure. Stolen silverware. Wow, we've got a lot of clues off the bat. Robbery was confirmed as the motive for the crime. The criminals may have plans to return for the silverware that they dumped. That doesn't make any sense. They were making a getaway for it. Just bring the silverware with you. Imitated robbery. The robbery could have been imitated to explain Sir Eustace's death. The silverware was not supposed to be found. I think that's the truth. Which maybe the Randalls were blamed and not actually the real killers. So if that's if that's the case, does it coincide with this? Oh, domestic accident? The death of Sir Eustace was an accident caused by a struggle with his wife. Lady Brackenstall and her maid committed the crime in self-defense. You decide that there is no point in blaming this poor woman? Lady Brackenstall and her maid killed Sir Eustace and attempted to cover their crime. They deserve to be treated as criminals. Really? That quickly? No, there's got to be more to this case than that. No acquaintance. Deadly accident. Poker blow. Acquainted with a murderous visitor. Sir Eustace was murdered by the one person who was visiting that night. It was he who tied up Lady Brackenstall. He is tall and strong. Look for a sailor. The person who was visiting that night was probably a sailor. Ah, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. Good job. Okay. Okay, now I think we're getting somewhere. I don't think it was domestic murder. However, I do have a question to ask. Search for possible sailor suspects. I want to talk about the silverware and the wine glasses. Photograph note. I have to search my archives for that. Okay. And then look for a sailor. What is it with me and sailors, it seems? Let's speak to Teresa for the first this time.
We found your mistress's silverware.
Oh, that's good news. You really are as clever as they say.
Indeed.
Okay. That's it?
There are 3 glasses on the dining room table. I was wondering if...
Oh, I forgot. When I came to myself the first time, each of them had a glass in his hand.
Each of them?
Might have been a father and his 2 sons. They talked together in whispers, and then they left.
3 people.
We found your silverware, Lady Brackenstall. It had not been taken very far.
Is that true? I am very thankful to you, Mr. Holmes.
Your ladyship?
Go back to my deductions. What if I said 3 people? Three people conflicts with... What does 3 people conflict with? The Randalls? I'm gonna say 2 people for now. Just for now. Imitated robbery. Randall's blamed. Yeah, for right now. That seems to be my strongest lead. I don't think these ladies were necessarily involved. So... Search for possible murder sailor suspects. I still have to talk to one more person about the silverware. Lestrade?
Inspector, I have recovered the stolen silverware.
Because I'm just that
You
good.
are a wizard, Mr. Holmes. And where is it?
You're a wizard,
In the garden
Holmes.
well.
Excuse me?
Unique, isn't it?
Rather absurd. What is the point of stealing silverware and then throwing it down into a well?
Exactly.
Perhaps it was used as a temporary hiding place, or simply the thieves wanted to get rid of it. It is up to us to solve this mystery.
Didn't they think somebody was going to go to the well eventually? Like, if they were planning on making it not found permanently, they're going to find it in the well. I guess they need to get rid of it quick. They weren't really thinking when they were leaving the premises, apparently. Alright, I'm going to search the archives. Rock of Gibraltar, 1893, the name of the ship and the date of Lady Brackenstall and her maid's voyage from Australia. From the land down under. So I have to look at 1893. The Gibraltar or whatever. Search the archives. This mission is not over yet. This mystery is not over yet. Alright, Toby, you've done your job. Good boy. Good boy. Let's take a look here, see. Archives, archives, archives. Gibraltar. 1893. Rock of Gibraltar's arrival. Arrival of Rock Gibraltar, a ship returned. The Rock of Gibraltar, a bulk carrier from the Adelaide, Southampton, London line, Cunard Building, James Street, London, has returned from a 6-month voyage through India, New Zealand, and Australia. The ship brought to England Miss Mary Fraser, heiress of the Fraser family, owning land and tin mines in Australia. This reportedly beautiful young lady is presently engaged to Sir Eustace Brackenstall, one of the wealthiest gentlemen in Kent. Okay.
Here it is. Right.
The address of Rock Gibraltar shipowner. We can find the crew list there. Perfect.
The shipping company, the Adelaide, Southampton, London line, and its address. Interesting. It must be the place where they keep the records, including the one for the crew of the Rock of Gibraltar.
I think that if you pretend you're from Scotland Yard, they'll give it to you without any problems.
So I have to disguise myself.
I have another solution. I'll call in the specialist.
Of course. The specialists. Yes. Yes. Which means I have to go this way, right? Hey, Wiggins, I need your help again, boy. It's always about sailors. They're the ones that have the connection with sailors.
Wiggins, would you come upstairs, please?
Wiggins is like, yay, I can eat today, because if I do this for Holmes, he'll give me money.
At your service, Mr. Holmes.
You are a good man, sir.
I need a register, my young friend. If you could borrow it, there will be half a guinea for every one of you. I need the crew list of the Rock of Gibraltar in 1893, and their current employment.
I'm straight on it, Mr. Holmes.
Do you really think they'll find it, Holmes?
My secret police is better than the Yard in many ways.
Yes. 3 hours. Wow, 3 hours. These guys work fast.
Here it is, Mr. Holmes. But we can't take it back. It's too risky.
Put it on the table. I'll take care of it. Good work, young Wiggins.
It's interesting that Holmes, doesn't mind having to walk between the lines of the law in order to get to the bottom of a mystery. So it's, he mostly is, I don't know if he's necessarily lawful. I guess he's more neutral than anything. Because he doesn't really go out of his way to be chaotic or lawful necessarily. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting. He's got, the specialists are his left hand. The left hand of Holmes.
I left it right on the table for you, sir.
Which table? Which table? I wasn't paying attention. Which table?
What should we do next, Holmes?
Apparently I have got something on a table that I didn't look at. Oh, over here.
This list shows the senior officers of the Rock of Gibraltar, on which Lady Brackenstall and her maid made their voyage. Lady Brackenstall does not know anyone in England. This must mean that someone on this list is our mysterious visitor. And these are the lists of the senior
gosh.
officers of the Adelaide, Southampton, London Line ships. Let us find out who was in London upon November the 7th.
Okay. Charles W. Chill, Mr. Jack Crocker, Mr. Henry Southward, Mr. Ernest J. Woody, Mr. Thomas Walker, Mr. Herbert Whittington, Mr. William Partridge. Departure from Adelaide, Australia on March 16, 1893. Arrival in London, England on May 23, 1893. Gaia, listing senior officers. Mr. Archibald Roger, Captain. Mr. James Talcott, First Officer. Mr. Henry Southward, there it is, Senior Second Officer.
This officer is still at sea, therefore he cannot be involved.
Right.
This officer is still at sea, therefore he cannot be involved.
Mr. Ernest J. Woody, Senior Second Officer. Mr. A.J. Ginion, Extra Second Officer. Mr. Nathan Jacobs, Third Officer. Mr. Samuel L. Graham, Fourth Officer. Departure from Adelaide, Australia on May 16, 1894. Arrival in London, England on November 12, 1894.
I do not think that this sailor has any connection.
Right. James Talcott. Henry Southard. Ernest J. Woods.
This officer is still at sea, therefore he cannot be involved.
Right. A.J. Ginion. Extra Second Officer. Mr. Nathan Jacobs. Third Officer. Mr. Charles W. There we go.
This officer was on a ship that sailed half a month ago. He wasn't in London at the time of the crime.
Mr. John Bussell, First Officer. Mr. Harvey B. Tyler, Sr., Second Officer. Mr. Robert Gordon, Jr., Second Officer. Mr. Charles Clan, Jr., Second Officer. Mr. Herbert Hawkins, not Whittington, Extra Second Officer. Mr. William Partridge,
This
Fourth
officer was
Officer.
on a ship that sailed half a month ago. He wasn't in London at the...
Got it. 2 more pages left. Mr. Jack Crocker, Captain.
Mr. Jack Crocker was in London upon the date of the crime, and he is due to depart in 2 days.
Mr. Duncan Chalmers, First Officer. Mr. Peter Davidson, Sr., Second Officer. Mr. Nail Harkis, Jr., Second Officer. Mr. George Stewart, Extra, Second Officer. Mr. Frank Willig, Third Officer. Mr. Murdoch Hooper, Fourth Officer. Mr. Alfred Pitchford, Captain. Mr. Harold Sanders, Officer. Mr. Vander Lender, Sr., Second Officer. Mr. Thomas Walker, Extra
This
Second
officer is still at sea, therefore he cannot be involved.
Right, which means Herbert Whittington is there. Yeah. Mr. John Foxhall, Mr. J.H. Dunford.
This officer is still at sea.
Right. Mr. Jack
Captain
Crocker.
Jack Crocker is our mysterious visitor. He was the only one around at the time of the murder.
Very cool. I think we're going to have to go talk to him. Call Crocker to confront him.
This Crocker, do you think...
It would be interesting to meet him. Our young friend should be able to find him.
Can you help me again, Wiggins? Such a good boy you are.
Wiggins, could you find a way to bring this Captain Crocker here to us?
Here? Holmes, that could be dangerous.
No problem, Mr. Holmes.
Sometime later. He's just gonna follow the urchin over here? Really?
Mr. Holmes?
Oh.
I was informed that you were looking for me, and I'd like to know why.
Yes,
Why
it is
else would
important that we talk.
anyone be summoned
You
to
will
Mr.
soon
Holmes?
understand why.
Being accused of murder. Why would anyone... Well, seriously, if somebody was to tell me that Mr. Holmes wanted to see me, I'd be running the other direction. Because it's Mr. Holmes thinks that I'm one of the suspects of murder. No, I wouldn't run the other direction, because I wouldn't have been... I would be innocent, and if I'm innocent, I have nothing to hide. And he will know that I have nothing to hide. But, no. If you think that if you actually murdered someone, if you know that you're guilty of a murder, and Sherlock Holmes asks to see you, you can't tell him you wanted to see me. I don't know why, because that's no. Clear look, honest. Really? Honest? Well, that doesn't help me. Honest doesn't help me. That's a nice cravat. Love cravats. I'm gonna be wearing an orange cravat just like this one for my wedding. Sea knife. Clean boots. Okay. Not really seeing much. Strong build. What did I miss? Sea knife. No ring. Right? Is that what I'm finding? No ring? Newspaper ink. Okay.
You are acquainted with Lady Mary Brackenstall, are you not?
Yes, I think I do remember her. From when I was first officer, but I still don't see...
It seems your relationship went beyond that of mere passenger and first officer.
How dare you?
Indeed, how reckless a feeling is love, particularly if one is prepared to commit a murder in its name.
Explain yourself this instant.
You are aware that the murder made the headlines of the morning press. You read the newspaper report, but to your dismay, found it much fabricated. Once you learned that I wanted to see you, you came straight away. You needed to know what I had found.
You? And what do you know?
That evening, you were with Lady Brackenstall, despite the danger.
I'm not afraid, Mr. Holmes. Besides, all of this is just guesswork.
You would be right if there was no evidence.
What then?
You thought, whoa, yes.
Lady Brackenstall was tied to a chair on the night of the murder. And it was you who tied her up.
You call that evidence?
Ooh. Sailor's knots, old bruises, poor health, item of surveillance, ship crew.
Yes, as she was tied with a sailor's knot. Your handiwork.
So, it's a sailor who's done it. That proves nothing, Mr. Holmes. I'm not the only sailor in London right now. Your theory is flawed anyway. On the night of the murder, I was aboard the Shark. I was supervising the repair of a porthole.
At night?
It was an emergency. There was a leak. You can ask the ship's carpenter. He can confirm.
I'm sure that he can.
Maybe I
Perfect.
will.
In that case, we have nothing more to talk about. Good evening, gentlemen.
So let's
Holmes,
see.
what should we do now? Would you like to check his alibi?
I would.
No, there is no doubt that these men will testify in his favor, and there will be no way to check.
Fine.
So, what then?
So, we must work with what we have. We have all the puzzle pieces.
We do. We do.
Now I understand why you dissected the bell rope.
Do we have all the... This is a short mystery if we have all the pieces. Really? Do we have all the pieces? Captain Crocker's statement. Captain Crocker knows Lady Brackenstall, but he may be lying about his occupation on the night of the murder. Captain Crocker is the only sailor who was aboard the Rock of Gibraltar with Lady Brackenstall and her maid, and who is currently in London. Crocker's involvement. Crocker is lying. His involvement is clear. He appeared as soon as he heard that I was looking for him, thus signaling his guilt. Captain Crocker was aboard the Sharp on the night of the murder. He was not afraid to confront me. He had a confident demeanor. Crocker's alibi. So there's something else. Could it be... I mean, it could be the Randall... I'm gonna go... I'm sure that there's something that talks about the Randall gang. I think. Something about the Randall gang. Yeah, the Randalls are guilty. Sir Eustace was murdered by the Randall gang. Robbery is confirmed as the motive of the crime. The case is too simple for you. Take this opportunity to give all the credit to your friend Lestrade. Your name will not appear in the press. Glory to Lestrade, trump the police. The speed in which you resolve this thorny problem is indicative of genius. The police naturally only demonstrated their incompetence. Okay. I don't think it was them. 2 people imitated the robbery. Randall's blamed. Poker blow. Deadly accident. Yeah, but what does this Crocker's alibi connect with? I'm still missing information, I think. There's still information that I'm missing. The Randalls are guilty. Poker blow. For the sailor. Crocker's involvement. The captain is the killer. Sir Eustace was murdered by one person who was visiting that night. The murderer is tall and agile and a high-ranking sailor. Jack Crocker is a murderer, and you will bring him and his accomplice, Lady Brackensall, to justice. Absolve Captain Crocker. The murder was committed in self-defense. Jack Crocker defended a woman against a violent dipsomaniacal man. The mystery is solved, but you decide to keep it secret. There's no need to inform the police. Alright guys, I'm gonna decide what I'm gonna do next in the next video. So thank you for watching, and until then, love yourselves and love each other.